We are finally ready to discuss the if-then-else decision structure. As the graphic on the right side of the slide shows, if-then-else allows us to branch the code execution along two alternative paths. If the condition is true, the if code executes, and the program execution continues with statements following and if. On the other hand, if the condition is false, the else code executes, and the program continues with statements following and if. So in our example, if the rate user entered is legit, we proceed with payment calculation. Otherwise, we alert the user to go back and enter a valid amount for interest rate. Let's switch back to VB and move the LBL label to the top right before the rate declaration, because we're going to need it down here, and then go down after the slide 6 comment and type the following code. If rate is greater than equal to 0 and rate is less than equal to 100, then display the following message that starts with interest rate space and concatenate rate variable, and concatenate the rest of the sentence is between 0 and 100 exclamation point, and after the closing double quote add VB new line to go to the next line in the message box, and then in that next line type proceed with payment calculation. Else, we want to say something different but use the same message box, and that is interest rate is not within allowable range, and instead of proceed with calculation, we want to say something like exiting procedure dot 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 dot, and then something like please try again. After this message box, we're going to type exit sub and discuss it momentarily. This exit sub is crucial as it will terminate the procedure and force the user to go back and make the adjustment. We're going to save and run the procedure, and we'll enter a legit rate such as 2.56. This should display us the first message box saying interest rate 2.56 is between 0 and 100. Proceed with payment calculation, and then if we type 120 or any other number that's not legit, it will come up with a second message saying that interest rate 120 is not within allowable range and the procedure is going to be exiting and please try again. Now we're going to remove the second exit sub right before the amount definition, and then we're going to go up to the top and grab the rate declaration, move it down. Well, actually, let's just comment it out, then move it down after the slide 7 comment, and then let's reposition the LBL label so that it jumps from the top right before the amount declaration. And then let's return to the presentation to talk about slide number 7. This slide demonstrates the use of nested ifs, and they're used to deal with situations that are layered and complex. As we mentioned a few slides ago, we first want to test if the user entered a number, any number, in txt rate text box, and we're going to do that using isNumeric boolean function. If that is the case, we then convert the content of text txt rate text box with cdouble or convert double function into double, and assign the value to rate variable of the same type double. Then we test if the value of rate variable is a legit interest rate, just like we did a minute ago on a previous slide. The code goes as follows once we switch back to VB. and position ourselves right after the rate, or right before, I should say, the rate variable. Let's type if, and then is numeric, and then txt rate dot text. So if this is true, then we can define the rate. We're going to have to force and if. Then we can define the rate, because now we know the txt rate does contain a number. And then after that, we do our test of whether the rate is legit, in the sense that it's between 0 and 100, and that just means essentially copy pasting this entire code right here. We still have the else condition to take care of, because what if the content or what the user entered in txt rate is not a number? We have to display a message, and we're going to use a simpler message box saying something like, in double quotes, interest rate must be a number, exclamation point, please try again. And again we have an exit sub terminating the procedure before it continues. Let's save. And now remember, because we took the exit sub that was after the, it was right before the amount, now we have to actually supply all the amounts, all the entries, all the numerical entries, amount, rate, and term. So let us run with 12,000, 5, and 2.56, and hit the calculate button, and we should get the message box that the interest rate is between 0 and 100, and it will proceed with the payment calculation and eventually end up with our monthly payment of $213.29. Then we're going to test with the incorrect rate of 120, hit the calculate button, and the interest rate 120 is not in allowable range, and nothing else will happen because the procedure terminated. Another variant of if then else statement is if then else if, and is designed to accommodate more than two alternatives. For example, suppose we wanted to make sure user enters either 4, 5, or 6 years for term. The following code will make sure one of these three alternatives is entered by the user, or the program will again terminate without calculating the monthly payment. If term equals 4, then the message box says, let's copy one from above, should be able to utilize what we already wrote and modified. So message box should say you selected a term and then your car loan. Proceed with payment calculation. I guess I should have grabbed that one. Okay, so the whole message will say you selected 4-year car loan. Proceed with payment calculation, because the 4 is legit. Now, else if, instead of just else, and then another test, term equal 5, then, and then this exact same message box, which will then display you selected 5-year car loan, proceed with the payment calculation. And finally, else if term equal 6, then same message box with the same message. Finally, we have else. The else is different in that now we know that the term entered is neither 4, 5, or 6. It's either 7 or something completely different. So we are going to say something like, let's see, we don't offer 7-year car loans, and then we'll copy paste our exiting procedure, please try again, message instead of proceed with payment calculation, and we'll stick in the exit sub statement. Admittedly, these three message boxes are somewhat repetitive, but you do get the point. Any of the first three alternatives is acceptable. The last else kicks you out of the program. So let's save, run, and test it with, let's say, 12,005 is a legit amount, 2.56. Remember, we have to enter all three. We should get first the interest rate message, and then you selected a 5-year car loan, proceed with payment calculation, and it will get us the familiar $213.29. If, on the other hand, we enter 7 years and try to recalculate, it'll confirm the interest rate is still legit, but now it's going to say we don't offer 7-year car loans, and that is going to be the end of the procedure, and monthly payment will not be calculated. Let's save all the changes, switch back to the presentation, and stop the take.